Hello and welcome to Feedback for August 25th, 2010. Well, the week of. I'm sorry. Welcome to the award-winning Feedback.
Yay.
Look at this beautiful award.
We won a telly. You might want to know what a telly is. It's an award for people that do awesome stuff involving video, and we are apparently one of those. So this is now the award-winning Feedback, and we're joined by the award-winning Kevin Kelly, the award-winning Jake Gaskill, and the award-winning Abby Happy.
That's actually my award.
Yeah, I know. It actually has your name on it.
Abby Happy.
That's the only official one.
I have one. I left it at home. I had these papers swirling around my apartment, and I was like,
That was your... All right.
It is heavy.
Things are under control. It was amazing. It was amazing. Also, Jake, Kevin, you guys are back from the far-flung Nordic lands, Deutschland, Germany.
Yeah. Germany.
We were in Germany.
What is Germany? What is Cologne like this time of year?
It was rainy when we got there and kind of muggy.
And then, it got really hot.
Yeah.
The last.
Because Abby and I had the pleasure 2 years ago of going to Leipzig, home of Goethe, favorite poet of Germany, and pretty much not significant beyond that point, other than the fact that it looks like City 17.
Bach composed, it does look exactly like City 17.
Yeah, I said the
and
same
Bach
thing.
composed a lot there, so we went to all the old churches, and it was really nice.
It is interesting. Leipzig is this place that people pass through.
And they have a giant convention center.
It's like, as I was writing music, I continued to do so while I was in the town of Leipzig.
Lots of weird goth clubs, like underground.
Yeah.
It was, apparently they have a really big goth festival every year. I learned this, anyway. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting place.
We didn't get any of
Cologne,
that
obviously, a far more modern city, part of the
Adam
old
danced.
West Germany.
It was funny.
Yeah, Adam was really tired.
There was a huge cathedral in the middle of town that was started
lot of cathedrals,
in the year 1200 or something. It was amazing. We went and looked at it.
The ones there have been
that
kind of
Martin
rebuilt
Luther
after the war.
Starting up all that crazy church stuff.
He was not there nailing
Oh, look,
stuff
I'm
up.
going to read the Bible. Hold on, it says something different than what you were telling me. There. That's my medieval history for all you kids out there. That and the plague. So before we get to some stuff involving all the wonderful things that happened at Gamescom, really, don't you want to put a dot right there?
ExtremeGames.com.
Yeah.
Or con, because it's a convention.
I know. I'm so tired of correcting that one, though. Well, I've given up.
And they
just call
lowercase it,
Gamescom.
and it's
It's all
very
one
confusing.
word, lowercase.
What is con short for something in German?
We did ask
we
that, and
couldn't-
now it's for games.com, right?
It is for.
Oh, it is for
Games.com.
Games.com.
Apparently.
That's
what we were
That's
told.
what Jem said. But
Jem, our UK
How
freelancer.
long was the meeting when they named it? Well, we got to get Games.com. Hold on, take that dot out.
And lowercase the G, and we're good.
I like the look of that.
I like to think it was like short for combustible. Just with that many people there, it gives that sense of danger.
true, that
we
would've
need
been a
more
better
of
name.
these.
Well, now Adam's not allowed
Games
to have
events.
matches at games conventions.
Adam's not allowed to have matches.
Period.
So other news. I guess actually this does tie in a little bit to Gamescom, but hey, you know what? It also ties into PAX because
Yes.
I am doing the Insomniac panel at PAX. Also, Feedback, this show that you love, the award-winning Feedback.
That'll never get
Telly
old, really.
Award-winning Feedback. We ourselves are going to be doing a panel. We're going to be doing Feedback live. I mean, you can see us doing the magical thing that we do outside of a radio studio because really, if you just slap a mic on us, we're doing the same thing that we're doing
And we
in
will
here.
be talking about Mafia 2.
Mafia
right?
2,
Yes.
we'll be taking questions from the audience. We'll be going through news and taking questions from the audience. It should be very exciting. It's in the Pegasus Theater. What time?
5 p.m., I believe.
5
I was
p.m.,
really
yes.
prepared for that. Sorry.
5 p.m.
I don't
on
know.
the Saturday of PAX. That would be September 3rd, I believe.
You guys might want to go to the website
Yeah,
because
go to the
clearly
website,
we
check it
might
out.
not actually know all
but
of
no,
the
that's the
information
4th.
ourselves.
Saturday is the 4th.
It's
Saturday
Sunday.
is the 4th. Sunday is the X-Play panel. Saturday is Feedback.
I'll be at one. I'll be at both of those
But
somehow.
It'll be very good. It's a very large theater, the Pegasus Theater. We need to fill it up because if you don't fill it up, then we look really bad to our higher ups. So, it's in everyone's best interest to get
Adam
a
gets
full sense of
beaten.
entertainment and to justify the Telly award-winning Feedback. All right, back to news.
All right.
Insomniac, they announced a game that I wasn't, as an Insomniac fan, I wasn't even thinking was out there in the ether. Ratchet & Clank All
Well, it did,
for
because
One.
wasn't it on a movie? Oh, Ratchet & Clank. Sorry,
Yes, in
I was skipping
addition
ahead.
to Resistance 3. Abby, take it away.
Yeah, they also announced Resistance 3. They had a trailer. It was all live action survivors, I guess, on a train. It's pretty cool, actually.
But it reminds me, I guess,
Not gameplay, really, but
no gameplay at all, but chronologically, I guess the images there made me think of Woody Guthrie and riding a train and sometimes not
It was
doing
set
it right.
to
and
Bob
getting your
Dylan's
legs cut
Masters
off.
of War.
It had that sense of a period of time prior to the World War II events of the first Resistance. Though I think it's reasonable to assume this takes place after Resistance 2 because it wouldn't make any sense.
That's cool. I like what they're
storyline.
setting up for the game. I like the idea of, if that really is reflecting what is in the game, them traveling across the country and coming across like survivors
Yeah, it's a pretty great format.
Well, you didn't really see any survivors.
Yeah.
Everybody looked pretty dead.
Well, also, I mean, one of the things that really was lingering after the end of Resistance 2 is your main character didn't kind of make it out of the game. Sorry, spoiler.
Okay, the game's been out for long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the statute of limitations is passed on that.
And so we are seeing people who might actually be making up more of a proper resistance. So, when I think of resistance, you think of the French resistance, which apparently all French people alive during World War II were part of. So funny it didn't happen during that time. But, people who are just average Joes that take up arms against the oppressive force rather than the military.
Definitely in step with what they've been doing in co-op.
That's
So-
what, yeah.
Yeah.
So look at that. See, that's synergy right
see?
there. So I couldn't help but wonder, given the fact that they have this other game with Ratchet and Clank that is co-op.
I know. Okay, so you guys actually got to see all of this, so feel free to chime in because I'm cheating. It's true.
So far, you're doing very good.
First ever co-op Ratchet and Clank game. 4-player, drop
Four-player
in,
co-op.
drop out. Ratchet, Clank, Nefarious, and Captain Quark. And
More characters coming.
How did it
Yeah,
look? Yeah.
Really? There are more. I mean,
Well, they
it's
weren't
called
yeah.
All for One, with the 4 is 4. So, I mean, they could tap out at 4, and it seems to be consistent with the
could.
title.
And
Yeah.
they started with 2-player and then went to 4.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
When they start, because the whole idea is that they've been wanting to do that for a long time. It's perfectly natural. Obviously, you have two kind of very iconic characters, and that they started developing for that, and then they kind of just threw in just testing it out to do 3 and then 4. And once they got to 4, they were like,
And
it's just too fun.
did you actually get hands-on or?
No, it was just a live demo.
Cool.
Now, I guess the thing is, Quark is always a problem, but kind of like he's implied to be on the side of Ratchet and Clank. Nefarious, not so much.
Well, with that kind of name.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a little-
did they at least explain? They've done this in the Mario RPGs. Like, is there what bonds them together in this?
Yeah, basically, Nefarious comes up with this like amazing, obviously, plan to finally get rid of Ratchet and Clank, and just as he's about to kind of bring it all into motion, they all get kidnapped, and so they're all kind of trapped together, and they have to work together to break out of.
But it
their
sounds like
kidnapped
you're not necessarily always working for the group. That there was some mention I saw in some interviews that some griefing of other players might work to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, they basically in the demo they were griefing each other, and they kind of even acknowledged the fact that they enjoy doing that.
I
They
like
enjoy
doing that, too.
like really kind of infuriating those
Fun
players.
to slap each
I'm
other.
a horrible person to play Little Big Planet with because I just sit there and slap everybody.
That's one of the best parts of the
Yeah,
game.
it
That's
really is.
pretty much my MO.
But yeah, you can work together, but they're also, you're all collecting bolts, and there are kind of group incentives, but there are also individual kinds of things that you can collect to kind of keep that competitive cooperation.
And from the
balance.
trailer, it looks like that the gameplay does change up throughout. I mean, we saw stuff that seemed to be traditional platforming, and then some boss battles. I mean, what's as compared to a single-player Ratchet game? What are they offering up in terms of gameplay?
I mean, it seems pretty much a classic Ratchet with a kind of puzzle element thrown in terms of like working together. Like you can pick up your, you need to get to a certain platform. You can pick up a guy and throw him, and he'll hit the platform. And it's kind of just a mix and match. But it is very much a classic Ratchet and Clank. It's hilarious. TJ Fixman, I think, is back
Yes.
doing the writing. Good. All the visuals, they've been doing really great stuff with camera angles and making it very cinematic and kind of working that 4-player, making you can kind of see everything, but it's also very cinematic and looks great.
And this is out of the North Carolina shop, not the one here in Burbank,
Right.
which I think was one of the biggest surprises because we've all
We've all been wondering what they've been working on.
and that's supposed to be the game we thought was going to EA. Not that game doesn't exist, but maybe the North Carolina house is a little bigger than we thought.
This is their first game, right? The
Yeah.
first game
Yep.
that'll be coming out.
Now they said fall for 2011 for Ratchet and Clank. Did they say anything for Resistance 3?
I don't remember a release date.
Yeah,
And they just
it's
showed us
not
the
on the trailer. It's not on the trailer. So I mean that Insomniac's busy. They have a third
Yeah.
game outside of these other two. We don't really know when they're coming out. But I guess for Resistance, given the fact that it's clearly not going to be coming out this year, unless there's one big surprise that probably should be announced.
Yeah,
God.
you think somebody would have said something about that by now.
This is the first time they've really had the luxury of breaking out of that a game every year cycle, which I think was somewhat inhibiting for their ability to want to kind of go places that obviously would take a little bit more R&D.
Sure.
So it's I guess they put some R&D into the RNC. We're the award-winning feedback. Just want to point that out.
Over to the next news story.
But you were talking about how this wasn't really Resistance 3 wasn't really a super surprise because there was that movie set that had the
there was a
massive
movie poster that had
Resistance 3.
right.
Was it Battle for Los Angeles filmed in Louisiana?
I know. With
With
the Resistance 3
Because you
billboard.
can do everything with the magic of computers now.
I guess they don't like the idea that LA is supposed to be traumatized or
Magic
something. And so they're like,
computers.
well, let's go to Louisiana. It's like, guys, oh man, that's just not cool. That's all I'm saying. Well, no, it's good to see that there's money going into the state of Louisiana. So I guess it's double-edged sword.
Sure.
All right, second news story.
Yes, Mass Effect 2 is coming out for the PS3, January 2011. And there's no word on whether it'll include Mass Effect 1 with it or not, because you think that would make sense for the people who don't have the Xbox, who haven't gotten to play the whole...
You got to know who the Reapers are.
I don't think it will, because I asked the doctors when we talked to them, how are you going to catch people up to speed that are coming to this for the first time? Are you going to give them Mass Effect 1? And they said, well, we're going to sort of summarize that story for them. So there's going to be probably some lengthy cutscenes.
I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to play the first one to
As long as
enjoy
you
the
can get
second
You don't
one.
need to play,
But
you need to
not
know.
having those saves, it kind of changes the experience
Yeah,
from
big time.
360 users to PS3 users. So.
I think the other is that there are issues with Mass Effect 1 when it came out. We are now looking at something with 3 years from that point, and that I think it would be tough unless they did a complete overhaul of the gameplay mechanics and made it like Mass Effect 2. That would be a tough one to kind of try to sell to people. So, but yeah, I think you need to know a lot of the story. I think this is more interesting for what it means for the PS3 for Mass Effect 3.
Yeah. Right. Well, I would expect that we would see Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, but I guess
on
we're
both
going to see it
consoles.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would assume that they're releasing Mass Effect 2 less for Mass Effect 2 than to save those saves and move it into Mass Effect 3.
Clearly, if you're a PS3 owner, you're used to waiting.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
wait longer. I'm really excited about the next news story. Because I love the DLC for this game. Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 is getting some more DLC. It's called The Sacrifice. It comes out in October. It works with Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. And it's the last, so the passing was when the two casts kind of meet each other, and it's sort of awesome. And then this one is going to show like how they actually met. And you get to choose who dies.
Now, how do you choose who dies?
I don't really know yet because I haven't played it. I would like to play it.
It looks like you're not buying virtual T-shirts a la Gears of War.
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm
sure you choose in the game, and then
Yeah.
then it's your experience is unique after that point.
Who are you going to kill?
I know that's tough. It's
I don't
want
to kill them. I love the survivors. I don't want any of them to die.
I think what.
Yeah,
what
but
was it
imagine
after-
with one of them dead, the quality of life and the value of life for everyone else just goes up a little bit. Right?
Well, that's completely counterintuitive.
I guess you're right, actually.
Because you need as many
Effect-
people as possible,
Yeah.
or somebody to use
left
his fate.
left four.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess it updates the No Mercy campaign, so you can play it in Left 4 Dead 2, and it's free for the PC and the Mac, and not for Xbox users.
Get out of here! Really?
Boo.
They tried really
I
hard
know.
with the first one, and you got a little bit of free content for it, but yeah, thanks.
But isn't that cool that it works with 1 and 2? I
That's
don't
what I was
think we've
thinking,
seen DLC
no,
that's
that's neat.
outside of like a Rock Band or something where it can go across.
Right.
I'm trying to think of other games that have supported both.
I can't think of
multiple
anything.
games supporting
And-
the same DLC.
I think this shows that the whole idea, Left 4 Dead 2, no, you hate Left 4 Dead 1. I'm a Left 4 Dead 1 community guy. So, like, for the 5 guys that follow through on their boycott threats, I mean, look at that. See?
Yeah.
But I think the other is for people that haven't bought Left 4 Dead 2. What a clever little marketing thing.
Oh yeah.
You're
Well, they've been
introducing
really
it.
consistent about releasing, DLC and really good DLC at that.
Yeah.
So, I actually wonder with Portal 2 and the announcements that were made at E3, if in the future there's going to be DLC and stuff for these games, if maybe they could find a way to give it for free for console users.
I mean, I'm
I
curious.
mean, it's too late for this, but
Obviously, they're able to distribute DLC for the PC and the Mac through Steam, a service that they own.
right.
They don't own Xbox Live. I don't know what the cost is to go through that process of making something available.
I don't know.
So I don't know if you're really what you're paying for is what Microsoft's fees on Valve are.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, they strike me as such a beneficent company.
But speaking of more things you can buy on your consoles.
Yay!
This makes you really happy. I know. It's Death Spank is getting a sequel in September.
I know.
And
Just came
not
out.
next September,
What?
No,
this
this one.
September.
Yeah.
It's called Thongs of Virtue.
Yes.
I can't keep a straight face. It's $14.99 on PSN or 1,200 Microsoft points. And September 22nd. He's searching for mystical thongs.
Yes.
Obviously.
Of
Six
course,
mystical
why would
thongs.
you?
And it is taking place in that strange world.
Yes.
It's almost like that, at the end of the first one. Sorry, spoiler, but trust me, the story, not the.
No, I don't even know if you've reached the appropriate time to spoil things for that one because it almost just came out.
Yeah, but they're going to start running ads for it in 2 weeks.
All
3
right,
weeks.
fine,
Just see
whatever.
more or less, he goes kind of into World War I at the end of it. It's this really weird transition. And it looks like, and I was like, oh my God, I have to wait years to understand what happened. I got to find out in
you got to
September.
destroy thongs to save the world.
Yes.
Because there's so many of these thongs, and only Deathspank can really control the power of the thong.
Yes.
See,
God, I
Yes.
love that game.
these are the pitch meetings. Those are the pitch meetings.
Are you
I wanna
excited about the
sit in on.
sidekicks?
Yeah, they do.
Sparkles
Obviously,
the Wizard,
You
which
have
really
Sparkles the Wizard
kicks-
and
cracks me up.
and the ninja-tastic kung fu expert, Steve.
Steve.
Of course.
This was made at the same time as the original Deathspank, which is why it's coming out so
Yeah.
quickly. So Ron Gilbert, his presence is
But they
very,
didn't
very
do it
evident
in 3
the game.
weeks. Come on.
Who knows? That's how they make games these days. Like Kingdom Hearts 3. We don't know when it's coming out.
I think people in our
Really,
in the
it's become a
comments.
joke. It's become a joke. Now people just like to tweet me asking me, knowing what my reaction to it is.
I got a couple of those. It was fun.
Yeah.
Now in the comments, they're asking about Kingdom Hearts 4. They're like, forget 3.
it.
Yeah.
Let's just go on to 4 and ask about that. So.
I'm going straight to 5.
We'll just leap forward.
Yeah. And our last news item of the day probably actually shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Blizzard is planning big Diablo 3 news for BlizzCon.
Okay. What qualifies as big news for Diablo? There's only one thing that's big for me.
Release date.
Release
That's
date.
what I said.
And
I
the thing
think
is-
it has to be that.
I know, but it's
mean-
also, it's like, what?
But like you were saying,
What?
it could be the last class in something else.
Well,
right?
yeah, but it
It's
could be
gotta
both.
It could be
Why not?
two
But is
things.
that big? We know there are
Exactly.
classes. It's like there's
Yeah,
just,
we know there's a class coming.
that the class doesn't make it any more material to me.
I just don't see how there can be a release date, given that they just revealed this whole artisan system. The rune system that we saw 2 years ago was not at last year's BlizzCon because it was broken, so they took it out.
So, well,
It feels like they're still
the
really
other
working on this.
hypothetical one is that it might be coming to 360 or PS3. Having just seen the game at Gamescom, would it be possible?
No. I mean, if I had to say right now, no. Down the line, maybe, but the graphics that they showed us and the gameplay and you have multiple, things you have to manage now with
What
your
if I find a
bags
way
and
to
everything.
jimmy my Dreamcast keyboard into
Then
some
you
sort
can
of
do it.
slot that works for the Xbox?
Then it will
I
magically
can
work.
play Timing of the Dead and my Diablo 3.
Hell yeah.
If I have a real Heraldric cube.
Yeah.
But, I mean, also, I was thinking about this, the idea that might be coming to the 360. Let's just imagine for a moment. You are at Intel. You are at NVIDIA. You are at Dell or HP. You really need Blizzard. Because, I mean, if any of their games start going to the consoles, there's even less of a reason to own a high-end PC. I mean, they really are keeping that PC market afloat. And
Oh boy. See, I told Tim that he needed to stop by
it's
and
Tim
wait
Schafer.
for
Tim
Tim
Schafer
Schafer
outside.
Tim Schafer
Nice.
and Morgan and
Award-winning
Blair.
Tim Schafer.
and
Hey,
Blair
Tasha
Heard.
got
also
an
from Double
award.
Fine. Now we're just making this awkward. Bye, guys.
See, when we work and they hang out with Tim Schafer,
of course.
and probably, who knows?
Really? Because we were all hanging out with Tim Schafer this morning, and everybody was asking, "Where's Adam?" But we couldn't find you.
Yeah, they're probably going to go have ice cream with Peter Molyneux.
Oh, we already had ice cream. We were going for pizza later.
See, yeah.
So cruel. I don't think it'll make it to the consoles. If you saw what they showed us, it's not ready for the consoles.
Sure.
You have to break up everything you get. Like, let's say I got this trophy in the game and I'm like, I don't want this thing. You can break it down in this cube-like device you have in your inventory, and then it breaks it down to its base materials, like, I don't know, whatever the crap that it's made out of.
Look,
But
I
like
just want a
wood
release
and
date.
everything.
I'll be
That's it,
happy
so if
with
it is the
that.
release date,
I
you
don't think it's.
I don't need it for
I
consoles.
think they're going to give us a release date for Cataclysm, but not for Diablo 3.
Oh, that's right. We don't even have
Do you
the
think you just
Cataclysm
live
release
to
date.
crush my dreams?
I do.
Okay,
Diablo.
okay.
That's my sole
What if
existence.
we find out that Diablo 3 is coming in 3 parts?
Oh, someone actually, said that, and that would kill a lot of people.
I would still play.
And it's
I mean,
going to
but-
be subscription-based at this point.
Shut up.
Exactly.
Abby's like, you're killing me, but I'll still play.
No, I'm not. I'll still play it. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Tell me anything that you want about Diablo 3. I will still play it.
I know. I'm still going to play.
And
it.
I will be stoked.
I want to know when, and I'm worried that if they do announce the release date, it's going to be like September 2012.
Yeah, exactly, that's the thing.
And it's kind of like, but that's when Roland Emmerich told me the world was going to end. Will Diablo beat that?
Yes.
This really keeps you up at night, doesn't it?
Oh my God, that and everything else. Oh. The situation in North Korea is unstable, guys. Don't you understand? They don't have an economy. All right, with that Diablo 3,
But they tweet now.
They do?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I know. There's one official tweet.
And it called South Korea a whore or something like that. It was really funny.
I know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. One day we should just do a feedback where, yeah. Oh, God, that poor little country.
Where you have a complete mental breakdown on the set?
Yeah. Any place that uses rice is garnish. Yeah, really. Yeah. I like to say if you're watching us from North Korea, best of luck, but you probably aren't.
All right.
On that chipper note,
Germany.
Let's go back to Diablo 3. You're in Germany. Germans. Diablo 3. Do Germans like Diablo 3?
Yeah, the room was packed when they had the
Does
session.
anyone not like? Did you feel there's one nationality not present at Gamescom when Blizzard was making an announcement?
The North Koreans were sadly not there.
Yeah, see, I do it. We could tie it back in. Reincorporation, kids. Well done.
Everyone was happy, although so many people at the Q&A got up and said, "Can you tell us when this game is coming out?" And I mean, it must have been asked 4 or 5 times, and Blizzard just gave their, "It'll come out when it's out." And one of them came up with the cute little answer of, "Oh, it's coming out on midnight of the Tuesday right after it's done," which got a little old after a while. But
Yeah.
Did they try to answer it in German to just kind of lay it to rest?
no, wouldn't that be nice? But
That would have
no.
been good.
They didn't take the trouble to learn the language.
I mean, so did you see a game that felt decidedly different than what we saw at BlizzCon?
Yeah, it was completely different because the only thing we saw was this artisan system that they're adding to the game, which is you now have a caravan that follows you around from point to point, and this caravan will set up shop and unload the tents and everything. And so the blacksmith is an artisan that you can befriend as a part of a quest, and then he travels along with you. So if you need something specific made, you go to him, and if you need your sword repaired, you go to him, whatever. But he can level up throughout the game. So he starts with he's just got an anvil and a little forge, and that's it. Later, he gets a better tent, and then before long, he's got like a proper kind of hut thing, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And so there's a blacksmith, a mystic, and a jeweler, and they each have their specialties. And you can also, they can specialize in certain professions. Like if you want your blacksmith to be an axe expert, he can do that, and so on and so on. So it's pretty deep system, but that's all they showed us. And then at the very end, we saw 5 seconds of, he's like, we can't have a Diablo 3 presentation without showing us killing something. So there was 5 seconds of a battle, and a barbarian killed a bunch of guys, and that was it.
Did they explain the rationale of this caravan? I mean, if the caravan's hooking up with you, the player in Diablo, they're kind of hooking up with a guy that seems only to find danger, death, and dismay. Just like why they're like, hey, that sounds like a great old time. You're not paying us either. Cool.
Great insurance policy.
Yeah,
They didn't
philosophical questions
They didn't
about
really say
video
it
games.
like, why would we follow this guy into? I'm going to set up in a nice town where it's quiet, not with the beasts coming every
It's like,
second.
I'm a jeweler. My God, I'm looking for ladies who lunch. Lunch in the world of Diablo, which is probably still a fairly
I will take us
torrid
on
affair.
many many rants similar to like, why does that happen in games next week?
Okay.
Yeah.
For
yeah. For a
Done.
game. So, I mean, obviously, this sounds like a significant aspect of the game, that this is going to give the player an opportunity to just really. I mean, they can build their character, but now they're building their character also through their equipment and their ability to, kind
Exactly.
of outfit themselves.
Yeah. And you can also, like, if you've got some epic tier set and you're searching for, like, the boots that you need, you can't find them, you can have your blacksmith create them if you find the recipe.
right material.
Oh, ooh.
You'll be finding recipes throughout the levels, they said, and that's where the cooler stuff comes from, is when you find a neat recipe for something.
Yeah, this game, this
It's
game
turning
sounds
into
like what I want to
Warcraft,
play.
though, a little bit. Like, with the crafting and the recipes, and slightly worried about the artisan system.
I mean, don't you think that this? Well, I mean, I can see the logic that. I know there's a lot of people who thought that because it was Blizzard, people went to StarCraft 2. That just strikes me as like kind of like you get whiplash, if you're big on WoW, thinking, hold on, this is a different game. Diablo seems to work a little bit more in concert, so maybe that's why
true.
they're throwing in some of that.
Oh, and plus, they're completely taking out the town portal system. You will no longer be able to town portal, which they said became a crutch. People would, get near a bad guy, throw up a town portal, fight. Oh, we're about to die. Go through the town portal, heal up and everything, and come back. So now they've completely removed that because of the caravan system. So you can just go back to the caravan. You can break things down in your inventory without having to go to town and sell them. So
It's so traumatic for the people in the caravan. You're coming back, twirling it like, give me that, hold on.
Why is he bleeding so
We need
bad?
a whole caravan game just for you.
Oh, those poor guys.
Yeah, it's a
the
caravan
life
mini
in the
game.
day in
Sitting
the
around
life of a
drinking
caravan.
mead, making jewelry, and banging on
I
an
like how
anvil.
you're thinking about the little people in the game.
I know.
That's
I
nice.
like to. It's important. It's
That's
like
nice.
I'm very concerned about the people at the beginning of a Law and Order episode, the ones who find the body. What happens to them?
I know, right? Especially when it's kids.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my God, they're traumatized.
Law and Order Therapy coming to NBC this summer.
So,
Not a bad idea.
what else caught your eye at Gamescom?
Well, I mean, I think both of us peed our pants when we saw BioShock Infinite. None of us knew it was going to be there.
Yeah,
either.
none of us. It was. I didn't.
Nobody
either.
told anybody. It's 2K. It was a total surprise. I was at their booth one day and I was walking through.
And I'm pointing this out. Not necessarily a good surprise when you're in the press and you don't know that something of this significance is going to be present
is
at
gonna
an
be
event.
there.
Yeah, when you told me, I was just like,
That was like
what?
we all were like,
I miss
are you
something?
serious?
Yeah.
They had a booth set up to look like you were in Colombia. It was very rich mahogany and leather and
they had all the
brass
propaganda
and
posters,
they were
and
great
phonographs,
posters.
and big leather couches.
And I saw that booth, and somehow, as an idiot, I was thinking it was for something else. And then later that day, Jake is texting me. He's like, BioShock Infinite is apparently here. And we're like, what? So we went over there, and we got into the demo, and they showed us the apparently the same thing that was revealed in New York. But we pulled a lot more details out of it because it was like a second viewing. So we wrote up another story about it.
Well, also, we never got to have the good gentleman that was in New York, lives in New York, that covered it for us. You are here in live. What is it like? I mean,
it is completely amazing.
Yeah, it's stunning.
It is definitely
okay, let's
BioShock.
look at some specific adjectives.
A little more
Something like
specific,
a
guys.
I'm just going to use adjectives the rest
It's
of the
magical and
superlatives.
filled with wonder.
Yep.
My childhood was changed forever. It's airy, it's gorgeous, it's bright colors. It feels like BioShock, but you are in a completely different environment. You're outside. They took us through this guy. You're a Pinkerton detective who has tracked this girl Elizabeth to the city of Columbia, which is this floating magnificent marvel that was built for the World's Fair. And
Of course,
it's
everything
been
good
missing
gets
for
built
12
for the World's
years.
Fair.
And so you get there and you're trying to get her off of Columbia, and you find out that's going to be extremely difficult. So something has just happened. Your character's been knocked out. He's coming to, and he's looking at this giant propaganda poster that has George Washington triumphantly standing over very bad caricatures of like Chinese people, Hispanics, et cetera. And it says, "It is our holy duty to defend the country from the foreign horde." And that's what you're first seeing. And then he blinks a few times.
Sounds like
and
Michelle
stands up.
Bachmann.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bachman shots.
Well, then he goes through the world, and it's just this completely gorgeous world. There is like steampunk horses walking by carrying newspaper carts behind
Like
them.
one of the things you see is like a woman like sweeping, like this building's on fire, and she's just in the doorway, like
the
quietly
building's
sweeping,
completely
like,
engulfed in flames. She's in a Victorian garb.
Yeah, you like walk up and like one
Sweeping the
of the
stuff.
kind of floating. It's like a cathedral, and like the bell tower is dinging, and it like breaks off and crashes down and rips
Right
up
in
the
front of
floor,
you.
like right in front of you.
Now, with like the look of the game, are you saying it's similar to BioShock in that it's that same like remarkable melange of like kind of period elements?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess one of the things that we were remarking on is the way that the characters looked, is they didn't have the same kind of unpleasant kind of angles of a lot, like the splicers and everything in BioShock, and everything seemed to have kind of a rounded, slightly more cartoony look, a la stuff out of like DreamWorks. I mean,
Yeah.
did you notice that? And did that feel very distinct from what we know from BioShock?
It did. Like the humans looked much more human in this, if you will, but they still had that sort of, BioShock has that kind of, I don't know, hue or glow to everything almost. This definitely had that. And the first character you encounter is apparently human, but you do something that makes him very angry, and he turns, and then something weird, how his whole body is
Well, it's
shaking and
very
his eyes are
strange.
blazing red.
Like you're walking along, and there's like a banner that's hanging there, and you're kind of looking, and it's almost like Assassin's Creed, where it'll be like, bzz, like something like sci-fi.
Yeah, you're
kind
not
of like
quite
messing
sure
with the
what's
Matrix
going
kind of
on.
thing. And then when you talk to him, he's giving this like big rousing, take up arms against the foreign hordes, and then you pick up a gun, and he like looks at you, and he's like, "Who are you?" And his eyes get all, and his face gets all like
I'm
pixely and
stoked.
stuff. It's
Oh,
Sold.
this sounds really
crazy.
cool. I haven't looked at this thing, and this sounds cool.
You do run into a bar at another point, and there's a painting hanging over the fireplace, and it does that similar, zzz, like it sort of slightly distorts.
Now, is the combat closer to BioShock or BioShock 2?
BioShock,
probably
the first
BioShock.
one.
Yeah.
So you're not kind of like, shoot and... bzz.
Yeah, we didn't see him
look at me.
shooting at all. He has a power. You can now grab people's guns out of their hands and then reverse them on them using telekinesis, and then you fire their own gun at them. You're not holding the gun.
Yeah, we
So
didn't
our
see the
character
gun.
never once picked up a gun.
He had the shotgun at one point.
He did
and was
pick up the
blasting
shotgun?
away people.
Oh, towards the end,
towards
yeah.
the end.
You saw Portal 2,
Jake did.
Yeah, another live demo like E3.
but it was different than the
Different
E3.
demo.
A little
right?
bit. They showed off a little bit of the kind of repulsion gel and some of the other kind of gels, and now kind of the mixing and matching of these different things. You have the, like the blue spinny kind of transference tube mixed with the repulsion gel, so the gel like falls into the tube and it like moves along, and then you undo it and it kind of bounces on. And they had like a line of turrets. The repulsion gel hit all the turrets and as soon as it hit, they were like boing, 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 and they just like fly all over the level.
And you're in like you said you were in like a turret construction factory.
Yeah, like one level.
And companion cube factory.
Yeah, it's like a companion cube turret factory. And
I've wanted games to do this. It's like I told Insomniac to do this with Ratchet. You have to have a level at the place that makes the crates. You just need to kind of ground it. that someone has thought this through.
Yeah.
That's now. One of our readers, viewers, one of those people that
yeah,
one of the, I guess it involves your eyes in both cases. Right. They have wondered if, but with all the stuff we keep on hearing about Portal 2, if this thing is reaching a level of complexity that might be precluding
that our
a more
simpleton
basic
brains cannot possibly understand.
A more basic level player that I think was able to get into Portal, this might keep them from getting into it. Did you get any sense about that?
I mean, we talked to them about that at E3, and they were like, we've taken that into consideration. We've tuned it. Obviously, Valve does a tremendous amount of tuning to make it. By the time you get to the points where you see the things that are happening in the demo, they were like, that's a ways in. You've been doing it for a while.
You've been using that skill.
The person that's recording this, has done it a million times, like you will have. And by the time you get it to be like this, it'll look like this. I think if you showed, later parts of the original Portal before people played Portal, they were like, how am I ever going to do the, like...
that first trailer that they had, that really amazing trailer where it started out with the voice and the little heart broke, and then it just went into the gameplay stuff, and you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it is definitely a ramp up. It's definitely a full-blown kind of crazy experience. So.
Guild Wars 2 is there. Many of our readers are quite adamant about their wanting to know things about the Guild Wars 2. I've always known the Guild Wars existed. It always struck me as being a little bit below the radar. Is this a game that's much more popular in Europe than it is in America?
They said the first one did about 6 million and half was in Europe, so there you go.
Yeah, but that's still quite a bit for America, I'll have to say. But what is distinct about this game from WoW, from EverQuest, from I don't know what else kids are playing these days?
Well, they've definitely tried to take those existing systems and turn them on their head. Like when you're just creating a character in Guild Wars 2, you're presented with this sort of Mad Lib style selection process. It's like, my friends love me because I am very... And then you have like a multiple choice. You'll pick loyal or headstrong or whatever. And these choices all shape your character. By the time that you're done with this process, you have a character that you're kind of have self-guided into who they are.
So it's kind of like Match.com thrown into your game. Do you think that cute little old man who's like, I know everything about love? And you're like, you do?
Okay.
Talk to
cute
him.
little man.
They also
it's interesting about the kind of biography system is that it influences... The first cutscene has like a reference to, our demo was like, I was raised in the streets or by commoners. And, there's a part where it kind of breaks off in the opening cinematic and says, kind of references your background. And then later on, the different events will be kind of influenced by your biography.
I was raised by commoners. There's nothing remarkable about me at all.
That's what they're like, I don't feel
good
about it.
What are you having?
You can choose to have been raised by rich people, by the nobility. It was all up to you.
Like they will come, like you
to make everything easier on yourself.
Yeah, they'll bail you out.
I want a life of prosperity. Yeah. They have a whole well, what's kind of funny to me, Jake was in a presentation and they said, our goal is to make the whole quest system dynamic, and you won't just walk up to an NPC and talk to them and be presented with a wall of text and a quest at the end. So, hey, that sounds great, right? So in the demo they showed Jake, first thing the character walks up to an NPC, oop, there's a wall of text and a quest at the end. And I'm like, well, but they did show us later, like...
But the words are constantly changing in front of your eyes.
That's basically what happens. They show you you talk to somebody and then they start talking, but then your view fades into an overhead map and they'll say like over to the north, and you'll be seeing where you need to go and what you need to do, rather than just
the rest of it is much more dynamic than that. Yeah. But it's just there are still those things in it.
It was just like an unfortunate.
Yeah, it was just
you guys also saw. I wanted to know more about this because we saw so little at E3 at the Ubisoft press conference. But Project Dust is now From Dust.
From Dust.
What is that about? I'm really excited. Like they showed the trailer and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I don't understand what is it.
It's pretty spectacular. And the guy who was giving he's the creative director, was giving the presentation, was so enthusiastic and was so passionate about it and was so excited to tell you everything about it. The demo was supposed to be over in like 5 different times, and he was like, "Oh wait, I got to tell you about this." But no, it's a god game mixed with like strategy and adventure. You're kind of looking over, you're in your god role, looking over this tribe, and the entire world is a simulation. So all the water, like everything in the world, is there, and you can play with it. You can pick up, chunks of the sand and carve out, mountains. But what's great is they were saying, like, oh, you want to build a river, you don't have to, path the entire river or whatever. You just cut out this section of the the mountain, and the water will flow, and that creates your river. And it's basically using the environment to solve the puzzles that are facing your tribe. But it's spectacular to see it in motion.
Well, and the art style looks remarkable and French simultaneously, and actually redundant, saying both.
I think that's the second feedback in a row where we've used that as an adjective.
I mean, how would you describe it? I mean, it's very striking to look at.
It is, and it is a weird kind of mix of these styles. It's an adventure game. It's God game. It's puzzle solving. It's strategy, real time strategy. It'll be interesting to see how it does. Hopefully, really well, because it is pretty remarkable.
Well, I guess it's nice to see Ubisoft still doing those things that made me very interested in Ubisoft back in the old days. Just even with Rayman 2, yes, it's still a straight up platformer, but man, it sure didn't look like a normal platformer. It's just it was this weird malevolent world with the guy without arms. I mean, it seems that there's still like some good old non-Ghost Recon innovation inside that company.
Well, the whole Ubisoft workshop and all that stuff they've been doing with the Michel Ancel and that whole team, and they are doing a lot of pretty amazing.
And apparently, he is still working on Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Of course.
Oh, we just had to bring that up.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
every time we've evoked the name of Ubisoft, it has to be mentioned.
It's moving into the Duke Nukem of games.
Oh boy!
So it's. I'm not castigating it yet.
No, but you're right.
It's got another 365 days. Okay, so we're finally going to talk about a game that Kevin's wanted to talk about for so long. It's like why you went to Germany. Torchlight 2.
Torchlight 2. Torchlight 2.
Why do we care?
Because you love Torchlight 1, right?
That's right. That is right.
This is all just a ploy of me to get you to play Torchlight 1.
Yeah, just for a couple of viewers. I don't want to link too much on Torchlight 1. What type of game was it, and how was it made available in case they want to go check it out now?
Torchlight you can get on Steam. They occasionally sell it for $5. It's great, and it's a loot horror game. It's Diablo just condensed and kind of cutesy.
All right, and with that, what are they doing with Torchlight 2?
Torchlight 2, as they've added a lot of new things, you can now go outside the town of Torchlight, which is where you were confined to in the first game. It's co-op, which is actually pretty cool. We played co-op, and you get to see your other players on the minimap, and you can hook up with them, or you can go your own way. It doesn't matter. They've added area quests. You may be in an area, and you'll find a unique key, and that'll unlock something in the area. Before, there was nothing like that. So, but you're still in the whole essence of Torchlight is battling the bad forces of evil and collecting a ton of cool stuff along the way. And there's a ton of cool stuff.
You couldn't stop telling me about the pets, right?
The pets, they brought the pets back in the
Jake,
first...
the way you say that...
That was funny.
was like, you've had a very long trip in Germany with
you
Kevin
would not-
over here.
How long was the plane flight sitting next to Kevin talking about pets?
Thankfully, we said separately. The pets in the first game, in Diablo or any game, even World of Warcraft, whatever, when you're collecting loot, whenever you get your backpack full, you have to make that annoying trip back to town, sell everything. Now you can just load your pet up, who has a pretty decent sized inventory, and you can click a button and he goes to town and sells the stuff for you. I have no idea how
but
he does.
He can't barter or something.
Yeah, what if he gets a tear? He gets ripped off every time he goes to town. And plus, I don't know why you can't then tell your pet, hey, go to town and also pick up some health potions for me. You can't do that.
I'd like a soda.
That's smart enough to do that.
They're talking about possibly including that in this next game. It's still a ways away. It's in development, but it looks fantastic.
And who are the devs behind Torchlight?
It's Relic Games, I believe. Runic.
Relic
is different.
Yeah, Runic Games.
They're working on
and,
Warhammer. And
Runic. And they are also working on a Torchlight MMO, which is their grand plan.
Runic, Relic, Remedy. Terminal Reality. Yeah, R's getting a little bit,
the Terminal Reality was a stretch there.
Okay, fine.
Reality,
There's someone else that they're probably called.
Real Worlds.
Runic.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much for going to Germany.
We had a great time.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to come. We still have tons of stuff we're writing.
Yeah, it's all up on the website. I mean, you just kind of scratched that surface of the magic that is to be found in Cologne.
Oh, yes.
Cologne, place where Keith Jarrett gave an excellent concert. It was given to me as a present once when I was a child. fine jazz player. The Cologne concert.
Check for more.
All right. We're going to go to our question of the week. This is from Daft Punk. Because there's something in this I have to mention. What do you guys think it is about games that make them so prone to sequels? There are plenty of great movies that don't have any sequels, prequels, remakes, etc. yet, but it seems like a great game that exists on its own is a rarity. Daft Punk goes on to mention some movies. The first one is Falling Down. We're going to get to that right after this. The Shining, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly are all great movies that exist alone. Wouldn't actually say that about Good, Bad, and the Ugly, but we'll get to that as well. So why can't BioShock? Its most similar movie is Fight Club, which also doesn't have a sequel. I don't know what's there. We're going to talk about the sequels first. I just have to go off on a tangent. Falling Down is a terrible movie. I'm just going to throw it out there. I can't stand that movie. And Good, Bad, and the Ugly really is, even though it's not the same character by name, it is the man with no name, and I think it fits into the oeuvre of a fistful of dynamite and for a few dollars more.
Well, how is BioShock like Fight Club also? I wanted
that
to know
one
that.
was confusing me.
I appreciate the spirit of his question,
Yes,
but his movie selection was
always be very careful
misguided.
when using examples that define your own taste. You can put your own statement at risk. It's good to talk in the abstract. Or always throw in Elliot. When you do, you completely make it look like you're smart. Especially if you decide that Elliot wasn't good. Wasteland, that's a bunch of twaddle. Everyone knows May is the cruelest month, everyone. Award-winning feedback, kids. That's why we got the telly.
I'm just going to do recitations from Cats now.
It's actually Old Possum's book.
I know what it is. Don't make me recite it.
No,
Whoa.
I have a song in my head. But
Step
why
off,
are
kids.
games prone to sequels? I have a
We're
big
getting an
theory.
Elliot battle.
I have a big theory, the Hollow Man, on why games have sequels. But I was going to go to you first, Kevin.
I mean, money is that's like the only reason they make sequels in my mind is like, this game made $1 bajillion, we're going to make another one.
Well, but also, I mean, I just feel that like there's so much R&D put into the tech that is designed for that game that's like,
yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
It's money,
go
but
back
it's
to
almost like that initial investment that like if we would not get games from those studios if they could not rely upon the stuff that they developed for the first outing.
And I'm totally fine waiting a long period of time for a sequel if it's really going to be a worthy sequel. I'm more amazed that there are franchises that manage to turn out a game every year. Because I just can't. I mean, I assume that there's some that they make the games concurrently, but like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing about the kind of, but as we've seen, there are a lot of great sequels in games as opposed to in
There's
movies.
a lot of great sequels in
movies.
movies.
Not most sequels. A lot of great sequels in games end up being better than the original because what you said they have to to make the tech and do the whole story.
And now all you do is you just get the game. Right. There's so many sequels I play where it's like you can just tell this is what they wanted to do in the first game, but just time, resources, and all that stuff. Cut it out. We have seen a couple. I mean, BioShock 2, I think, is the first kind of really major sequel where we're like, once again, not exactly the same team as the guys who made the original. And I think that is.
But it was good. The combat was fun.
And it still made improvements.
The same impact as the first game. But...
Which I think it was destined. It just really couldn't. It looks like BioShock Infinite is going to do that. I mean, sequels in movies, you just smell the bloat more than you do in games.
Depends on the sequel.
I'm trying to think of a movie sequel that I like.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of sequels that were as good as or better, like
Godfather
2,
Aliens.
I don't know if the Aliens is better. Aliens is just freaking awesome, and Alien is awesome.
No, I agree. They're separate, but they're both fantastic.
Yeah.
What's strange is that another one of our commenters.
What about The Empire Strikes Back?
Yes. Fine example.
Empire's a good one. And someone had asked, like, has there ever been a game sequel that made you want to play the first game? Like you hadn't played the first game, but the sequel was so good or looked so good that you were like, oh, now I want to go back and play the first one. And I think we're having a lot of games coming out now, like Mafia 2 is a good example. We'll talk about that at PAX, but it's gotten so much attention. It looks so great. I never played the first Mafia. Now I'm like, I kind of want to.
Well, that's the advantage of having. You have to find that time period that's within enough time that people will go back and play that game.
I mean, if it's been 10 years.
Well, because I love Team Fortress 2, but I remember playing the hell out of the first one, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to go back.
There's
some unlearning that needs to happen.
Plus, you might have an old system you have to go get and play on.
Or
I mean, maybe there will be PS3 owners that are going to play Mass Effect 2 and then go to at least to their PC and try Mass Effect 1, and they're like, whoa!
Or find your CD codes for games released in the mid-90s, which I've had no luck doing.
Yeah, that doesn't...
Too bad
that's what good old games in Steam are for.
Too bad Steam doesn't go backwards in time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Go get some sleep because you were in Germany, I guess? Yeah.
I'd like to see you in the future.
Yeah, we have time
travel.
travel.
In the future, so don't spoil the next 10 hours for me.
You don't want to know.
We will, of course, be back next week with feedback. I myself will not be here. I'm going to go take myself an award-winning vacation. The award-winning Matt Kyle will be in this chair with the award-winning Abby Happy and many others to talk about games, including Metroid Other M, a game that has been a head-scratcher for many of us out here. Abby's going to give her verdict. on what she thinks of the game. So, yeah, I'm just going to say you definitely want to tune in. Remember, come check us out at PAX. It's on Saturday in the Pegasus Theater, 5 p.m. If there's a lot of people there,
Push, and shove.
They might actually pay for lunch for us, and it would be really, really
First person
really
to ask about
awesome
Kingdom Hearts
if they can do
3
that.
gets hit
and
by
also,
Adam.
yeah,
I'll bring some swag.
You know what?
for that
And if
person.
somebody asks about Kingdom Hearts 3, you will see a soapbox rant unlike any other out there. Okay?
No, now that it's tempting them now.
But one
Yeah, I
thing,
know.
one thing to point out:
okay.
Shh, it's a trick.
if you're not able to go to PAX, we will be
just opened.
broadcasting
We
that
will be
feedback.
broadcasting. That will be the actual feedback for the week. So come back next week. Then we'll see you guys in PAX. Take care. And, well, we're out of here. Award-winning goodbye from feedback. Hello there. I'm Adam Sessler, host of X-Play, editor-in-chief at G4TV.com. I talk a lot about video games, and sometimes a camera is in front of me when I'm doing that. We call that Sessler's Soapbox. It takes about 2 minutes of your time, but trust me, you will hear invective and joy and probably a lot of rude things like you've never heard before in the context of video games. I do it for you, so you should check it out. It's up every Tuesday on G4TV.com.